Next guest tonight is a Cork comedian who started out as an electrician but who's now lighting up stages all over the country with his unique take on family life in the rebel county. His mission tonight, if he chooses to accept it, is to make his Late Late Show debut while also explaining to Simon that a Langer isn't where Tom Cruise parks his aeroplane. Would you please welcome Chris Kent? Chris, meet Simon. Simon, meet Chris.
Nice to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you.
I believe you've also been on your own Mission Impossible mission recently. Can you tell us a little bit about this?
Nothing as severe as that now, but I gave up my phone for 2 months.
Okay.
Well, I gave up the internet completely, and I just wanted to see if I could think for myself, you know, because we all have smartphones now. They're very addictive. I found I couldn't do anything. I couldn't write. I couldn't pay attention. Couldn't go to the toilet without taking it with me, like, you know. And it just came to a point where I felt like I needed to see if I could think for myself. And
okay,
yeah.
On a scale of sort of, 1 to a global AI threat, where do you think losing your phone sits, Simon?
Oh God, for me, I don't know. I'd be lost. I'd be absolutely lost. I mean, that's a very brave thing to do because, like, it is constantly just attached to our hands these days.
Where did you miss it most?
I missed it a lot. I miss sat-navs a lot, actually, because I've no sense of direction whatsoever. I sat-nav my way to my house, which was where I live, you know, every night. I miss it there. But it was such an amazing experience to give it up, and I had to do it, really. I had to test myself, and it was for a creative reason, really. It was to see if I could write a new show, but it turned out to be, I got a lot more out of it than that. Do you know what I mean? It was like more so my family. Like, I remember my little girl coming to me, and she was only learning how to talk at the time. She didn't have a lot of words, but I was always on my phone around her because she never said it or to get off it or told anybody, you know. Just always on the phone around her. But one day, she came up to me and said, "Daddy, put your phone away, please." And honest to God, it was the biggest, it was the biggest sentence she ever got together in her life, and it broke my heart. I swear, like, because I love the phone, you know, I really love it. I was like, "Where's your phone? I gave you my old phone, Evelyn. Where is it?"
Did Siri say, "Make your daughter go away"?
Yes, exactly. Siri says, put her to bed. You worked as an electrician.
I did,
before the stand-up. When did you realise that it had to be one or the other?
Well, early days it was easy because I was just kind of fired. Do you know what I mean? So it was, I wasn't fired. There was a recession, and I was forced into. I became a stand-up comedian, almost a full-time stand-up comedian, not by choice, but that just lost my job and happened to be gigging at the time. Because it's not a thing that you would. It's a slog in the beginning. Stand-up. It's not a job. It's not. You know what I mean? In the beginning, it's
tough to make ends meet.
It's tough to make ends meet. Like, I remember the early days, the early couple of years doing stand-up. I went into a shop. And I just had my eyes on the dream. I didn't pay attention to anything else. I went into a shop. I was buying a yop, like, you know, a yogurt drink. Yeah. And I bought it up, and I tapped my card, and it was like insufficient funds for a yop.
For a yop.
No, like, no. I don't know if you've ever had to carry a yop back to the fridge. But, kind of, you know.
I mean, you did stand up before you were acting.
I did, yeah, as you know.
Yes. You played Queen's University with me back in
1994.
94.
Yeah.
How did that go?
It was really bad. I remember, you were comparing, obviously doing a fantastic job. You gave me a lovely intro. I went on. I think it was just 94 was a time everybody was very excited about the changes that were happening in Belfast. It felt like everyone wanted to talk about that, and I came on and talked about my cat, and they kind of were like, "No, I don't think so." But I've had some amazing gigs here. Back in the day, I haven't done stand-up for 25 years, but some of the best gigs... The best gig I ever had was at a club called the GPO in Galway.
Yes.
Oh my God, it was such a great night.
We both played there. It's you're on the road now, and I'm assuming it's not having to juggle the two jobs. It's not as fraught as it used to be.
Yeah, exactly, because I did go back there for a while, and I was working as an electrician and doing this, but doing the two of them at the same time. Something had to go, do you know what I mean? I found myself in situations where I remember going in to pay for fuel one day, and I tapped my card again, and the guy was like, "Oh, sorry, you'll have to put it in," because, you know. and I just shouted my PIN code at him. So, like a scammer's wet dream, do you know what I mean? Like, something had to go, something had to go. I also found myself one day, because I was doing 50, 60 hours a week on a building site, getting into the car, driving up the country to do gigs, driving back, getting up the next morning. I found myself in the Tesco's one day, just like trying to get into somebody else's car. But it took me a very long time to realise that it wasn't my car.
It wasn't your car?
No, I was there for ages trying to get into the car. I just thought central locking was gone. Same car as mine. I was pressing the buttons for ages, and it was a real banger of a car. So the boot was a bit wonky in it anyway. So then I was trying to force my way in through the boot. And a guy from Tesco's came over to me like, "Excuse me, what are you doing?" And I explained to him that I couldn't get into my car and the boot's a bit wonky and sometimes you can get in through the boot. So then naturally he helped me. So it was just me and him trying to get into the boot of somebody else's car. And this is before I gave up my phone. So I was leaning on the car watching a YouTube video about central locking hacks. And a lady came back and got into the car. And it still took a moment to register. I was like, "Excuse me, what are you doing?" And she was like, "What?" I was like, "Oh, sorry, have a great day. Not my car."
You have fought a lot of villains in your movies. Have you ever taken on the nemesis of the Bouncy Castle man? I believe Chris has...
No.
Well, that was the straw that broke the camel's back, really, when I had to sort of give up the electrical job the second time around and go back to work. I got into an argument with a Bouncy Castle man.
Yeah.
Which I don't think you can come out of very well.
No.
Even though he was a prick, to be honest, right? He was an awful prick. I booked a Bouncy Castle. He dropped it off. It wasn't a very nice experience anyway, but I booked it for 2 days, which is more than enough time with a Bouncy Castle.
Oh, God, yeah. It gets boring quick.
It does. And 2.5 weeks later, this Bouncy Castle was still in my garden. And I'm always trying to ring this guy. I'm like, "Please, when are you take your Bouncy Castle away? All the children on the estate think I own a Bouncy Castle now." And he wouldn't take it away. And there was one night, my wife was out doing a course. I was putting the kids to bed. This is about 2.5 weeks later. You put the kettle on. As a parent, you put the kettle on, the kids are in bed. You're like, this is lovely. This is amazing.
Yeah.
And the doorbell went. And I was like, I just had a feeling I knew who it was. And he woke the children up. And I was so angry about that. The children came down the stairs. I walked out. I said, "Hello." The guy was like, "I'm here for the Bouncy Castle." I'm like, "What? Like, why didn't you call? Like, what? You just have to waken the children up." And he just walked past me into my house, like stepped over one of my crying kids, went out to the back garden. And I'm not normally a person that would call someone on their behaviour, but he just pushed me to the limit, So I went out to the back garden. I was like, "Sorry, you're supposed to be here 2 weeks ago." He was like, "I was busy." And I was like, "Well, what did you call or anything?" "I was just busy. I told you I was busy." And then I was like, "What's with the attitude problem?" And then he ran over to me and he was kind of head to head with me in the garden. And I thought, for the first time in my life, I think I'm going to fight the Bouncy Castle man. It can never go well, really, can it?
No.
In front of my crying children as well, by the way, which there is no faster way to mess your kids up than to fight the Bouncy Castle man in the garden. You may as well go out and drag the fella out of the whippy van while you're at it, So my wife came in from work and she was like, "What's going on?" The Bouncy Castle's gone, but I was obviously still flying emotionally. And she was like, "What's happening?" And I said, "Look, I had an argument with your man." And she was like, "Who?" I was like, "With the Bouncy Castle man. I nearly had a fight with him in the garden." And it was serious, like he had his shoes kicked off and everything,
Did he want to fight you on the Bouncy Castle?
I mean, we pay money to see that.
I think then I had to go. And my wife said to me, "Do you know what's wrong with you now, Chris?" She said, "That fella's living his dream. He's a full-time Bouncy Castle man, and you're only a part-time comedian, so you need to go back and become a full-time comedian," and that's what I had to do.
Comedian. You're back in Ireland now. I know that you were in England for a while.
I was.
Parenting.
I was over there about 6 years. Yeah.
Parenting slightly different, I believe.
Yes, absolutely. I was in a sort of I was saying London because it was just easier, but I was in St Albans, which is just outside London.
I live near there.
Posh Hertfordshire kind of. I didn't fit in. Great, but in the sort of mummy groups and all that, I was often the only dad there as well, and I speak like this, and it's just a little bit different, and you have to be so careful these days with kids and food, and you can't share your kids' snacks with other people because allergies and all that, and I remember one day a little kid came over and tried to take a snack, and I said, sorry, you'll have to ask your mummy, buddy, you'll have to ask your mummy. And I said, does he have any allergies? And she's like, no. And but she took the little bar and started reading the ingredients. And she was like, oh, no. Charlie, no. I was like, oh my God.
Meanwhile, back in Cork.
Yeah, but I was like, you can have that. I've hoofing about 9 of them into my young fella already. You may as well have that. And then I get back to Cork and I think, is it going to be any different? And there was a 5-year-old's birthday party on my estate, and one of the neighbours said, I think we should have a mocktail party for them. like for the children, right? And I was like, I think it's a brilliant idea. I'll bring a bit of sherbet, we'll make it a no-cane party altogether,
We could go from there. Look, Chris.
Cheers, thank you very much.
We're out of time. You can catch Chris near you as he continues his Irish tour, including a big hometown gig in the Marquee in Cork on the 11th of July. All info for his upcoming shows and gigs are at www.chriskentcomedy.com. Thanks so much for joining us. Give it up one more time for Chris Kent and for Simon Pegg.